Happen on the Job. This is our podcast for entertaining and sometimes hopefully relatable.
I love that you say hopefully sometimes.
Yeah. I think I mix it up a little bit all the time. We like to call it relatable conversations with contractors with that are hopefully entertaining, but that sounds a little too long. So here we are lengthening it out anyway. We are episode 23. With us today is Abbigail Brown, president of CPM Logistics. How you doing, Abbigail? Thank you for
great
joining us this morning.
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, we love talking to contractors. So, I know that you're not in that space 100% now, but I kind of to that point, give us a little background on you, a little history, kind of how you got started in the industry to where you are now.
Sure. Well, I've been working in construction probably a little bit over 20 years now.
So just
about 23 years. Yeah, a little bit of time. And the first job that I ever had was for RPS Regional Steel in Tracy. And so that was back when I was going to college. I started working there as a project coordinator. And I loved it. I mean, it kind of changed the whole course of my career where, building things and being able to get out and have a new office every single day, being on a job site. The camaraderie between everybody working on the job site was great. And so that's when I decided I was definitely going to, make my career all about being in construction.
So, I don't mean to, I'm going to stop you for just 1 second, just because this fascinates me because we have so many people that are like, family was doing this, my dad did this, my grandpa did this, and they're just it's kind of built into them, right? So I guess my question just right off the bat would be for you, were you going to school for something specific that kind of led you that way? Or like, what was it that drew you towards even especially as a female too, right? To go, hey, you know what? Construction is kind of what this would be fun to kind of take a look at for a minute. And obviously it worked out for you, but I'm just kind of curious what pointed you in that direction.
Especially back then, there was 3 women in construction. There was hardly anybody. No, there wasn't. My mom worked for Dillingham Construction for a lot of years, but
so
that really didn't. Yeah, it wasn't anything with regards to that per se. I was going to school for education and I just needed a job. And so I applied at RPS. I moved up to Tracy to live closer to my sister. And it was great. I mean, working with the iron workers, it's like a big happy family. And even now, all these years later, I'm still friends with most of the iron workers that I knew back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It's dynamic.
Well, back to the story. Sorry, that's just it fascinates me times.
I started my company, CPM Logistics, 7 years ago. I had been working for a big, giant contractor that had, 10,000 employees. They're international. And once I had my kids, I just wanted to be able to maybe smooth out my work-life balance a little bit better. And I was also super interested in trying new ideas and kind of, being a maverick with figuring out better ways to do some of the things we do in construction. I was very interested in just, taking those risks, which I hadn't been able to do before that. Before I started my company, my husband and I had moved to Louisiana to work on construction projects over there after Hurricane Katrina. And, that's where I really kind of filled in a lot of the different skill sets that I hadn't had before because they don't have construction managers in the South, or they didn't back then. So I ended up managing a couple large programs over there for the post-Katrina rebuild efforts. And it was just a very meaningful, I'm kind of segueing into a random topic, but it was super meaningful to be able to help, get into those communities and help people get their schools back and their roads and their bridges and, all of the above. And I had worked in St. Bernard Parish, which was the area south of the Ninth Ward that was decimated once the levees broke. So it was really, I think,
freelance or with the company that you were working for at that time?
When I moved there, I worked for an architectural and engineering firm.
Okay.
And they were the ones in the South, 12, 15 years ago. When I started there, that's who the owners hired to come in and manage their projects, were architects and engineers. there was really no owner's rep middleman like what we have in California. No construction managers or anything like that. It may be different. I haven't lived there in over 10 years,
Right.
but it may be different now. But back then it wasn't. And I was the first female project manager / program manager that the company I worked for had ever hired there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Did it work? How was that, I guess, that style of working, was it better or worse? How do you feel it compares to kind of how it works in California as far as not having that construction manager middleman between, I guess it would be between the labor and the whoever's running the project, right?
Yeah. It's very different. I mean, California is much more bureaucratic and regulated.
No.
Where I know. In Louisiana. But here, you know the rules. You know where you have to submit your plans and what permits to get. There, it was a little different because all the parishes had different requirements, and it was kind of like who you knew. And they did have some state oversight over some of the building projects, but it was just it was never clearly defined. So, you start working there after being in California, which is kind of on the cutting edge of most of this stuff, and they just throw you in and you figure it out.
And I have to
which
imagine
I think
it's
is great in certain respects.
Yeah, and I have to imagine it's got to be a little stressful, especially in that setting where everything is trying to be rebuilt at the same time, and you're trying to manage so many things.
Yeah.
Yep. And resources are scarce, and
right.
Yep.
So how long were you out in New Orleans for, or in Louisiana?
We were in Baton Rouge for almost 6 years. We moved back to California in 2011, the end of 2011. So it's been about 9 years, I guess, that we've been back here in the Bay Area.
And then started CPM Logistics, would you say 7 or 8 years ago?
Yep, 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago. I had moved back here and started working for, a big contractor for about 18 months. And, once you have kids, that changes everything, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I was working in the city in San Francisco, a lot. And so I decided it just wasn't worth it. My kids were so young, and they were in pre-K and daycare for like 10 hours a day. And so I took that jump, and my husband said, go ahead and do it. And I quit and started this company. And basically, the first year I went out and got my contractor's license, and I said, I'm just going to bid on manageable scope, easy little things that, you can get in and get out real quick. Your supply chain doesn't have to be overly complicated. You can have a quick turnaround, and you can manage this stuff. And so the first year, I had a couple of employees. We bid on tons and tons of stuff. We got a couple projects. But in the meantime, I was also working on the Presidio Parkway project in San Francisco. And we started helping Flatiron and Kiewit with all of their small contracting needs with the goals that were established for that project. And what we found, what myself and my people found was, we genuinely were affecting some good change working with the little contractors through that project. And so we strategically made the decision to pivot and only start working on helping the small DBE, DVBE, the veteran companies to better connect with these projects. And so we stopped doing contracting, and we became purely a consulting company probably about 6 years ago.
And so how do you guys, where do you step in on the process? Are contractors do they come seeking you guys out, or do you guys work with the state or the local authorities to as somebody who's kind of on the job to help these other people out to kind of make that transition easier? Or where do you guys step in?
We do both. We're not elite or anything like that. We're not snobs about any of it, but we're pretty picky about who we work with, because we want our ethics to align with their ethics, and we want to get paid, in a timely manner.
Right.
all of the above for that. So we know, we're very small, and if we take one bad contract, it could put us out of business. So we've, really, well, how we started was we just started volunteering for everything. Like, oh, you want to do an event? Let's do an event, and because we wanted to figure out a better way to make this process more effective for everybody involved, which is the prime contractors, the owner, and the small contractors. So we just started volunteering for free. I mean, it was either that or you were going to pay for business development and marketing costs and meet people one at a time. So we just en masse said, let's get out there. Let's figure it out. Nothing's off the table. Let's do really good things. And so we formed this program with Caltrans District 4 here where I'm at, to kind of figure out some of the issues that had been chronically reinforced on the projects for years and decades and everything. And so that was in 2013, we started doing that. And because of that, we were able to really develop some good, trusted relationships with both the prime contractors and some of the owners. So that's how we find them. I mean, we have a whole structure in place where...
I have to imagine now you've got a reputation that's, people are out there looking for you. So you guys, if I'm hearing it correctly, kind of identified a few of the major issues, found out ways to kind of make those easier for all parties involved. And then you went into the projects and said, hey, look, we've got a plan to solve this and this for you. And that's kind of, that was your marketing strategy in a sense, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right. We said, hey, have you thought of doing it this way? Why are you working extra hard to do this when you could just do this instead? Really, and especially these alternative delivery projects like CMGC and Progressive Design Build have been awesome for all the conversations that we need to have, pre-bid with the small contractors and the prime contractors.
So who's paying you? Yeah. So who's paying you now? Are you working for the primes again to make that transition easier for everybody? Obviously create less headaches for them, or is it the subs that are paying you to make it easy to get into these jobs?
We don't charge any of the subs. It's us. We get paid by the primes and the owners to do this.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So any of the little guys, there's no way we're going to go out and charge them $500 to help them. Like because it helps the bottom line of the projects and it's so efficient.
And like I said, it's probably making headaches go away for the primes if they've got somebody who knows what they're doing, helping because there's so many subs, right? Yeah. They're really only working with you, when things need to change rather than so many different subs. Yeah, that makes sense. That's brilliant. So from a development standpoint, I mean, obviously you can't go in and do the same thing over and over again because at some point they're not going to need you anymore. So are there things that are changing that you guys are staying on top of? Do you have a team that kind of keeps track of that stuff? And how does that process work for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, we try to stay ahead of the trends. I mean, like any business, no matter who you are, you have to stay ahead of changes in the industry. So we're out there making sure, like CMGC is fairly new. We were on one of the first Caltrans CMGC projects with Granite in Fresno, the SR99 project. And that was one of the first ones that I think that was a little more public too.
Yeah.
And so as they're evolving, we're also evolving and staying ahead of some of this. We've managed to pull in a bunch of data methods, that use data to actually show, how much participation can you actually get on this project versus, just a lot of perception stuff and people throwing things out there. We go by the numbers. We take the contracts, we have multipliers and everything where we can, with some degree of certainty, predict how much, based on supply and demand, exactly how much participation can you get on that project based on the scopes of work. Wow. For DBEs. That's a DBE thing.
Right. And that's okay. Yeah, that's cool. So where do you see you guys going? Are you looking to, are you sticking to just California because it's what you know, or are you guys looking to expand, or how far are you looking to take?
We have been contacted from some projects in Washington State, up in Seattle. We're kind of eyeballing Nevada a little bit too. We're not ready to start flying to New York or somewhere else. Because what we do, the only reason it's effective is because it's local. Like, you have to look at the local needs and the local economies and the local relationships. And so it's really a lot of work. If you want to expand into Contra Costa County, that's the same amount of work as if you expand into Nevada. Learning
all the different,
you have to figure
like you
it
said,
out.
the bureaucracy and the relationships and everything else.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah, no, perfect.
Oh no, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna transition into something. So if you had something else,
I was too.
Okay, perfect. So
that's why.
So where are you guys at right now with obviously the situation that we're all in with COVID-19? Are you? I know we talked a little bit beforehand. It sounds like you guys are a little bit busier. Is there a reason that you guys think you guys are busier, or how's this all playing out for you guys?
We pivoted to the online, using Zoom, just like the rest of the world. We were able to pretty seamlessly pivot into using that medium versus having things in person. We were already headed in that direction anyways, and so it was sort of a natural progression to be able to do that. We're just busier now. Some of our contracts that we knew were coming, they all came at the same time in March, and so it's helped us to increase our capacity, while being able to use these really amazing technological functions, to keep people moving. We just had this webinar with Caltrans and DGS last week, and 140 people logged into it. It was crazy. I've never,
wow.
I mean, we're lucky if we get 100 people to come to our pre-bid conferences and those things in person. So it for us, it's kind of filled in that gap of, okay, little contractors, we know that your resources are stretched, so we're just going to come right into your house and give you this information.
Right.
You don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, it almost makes it easier for a lot of people as long as they're willing to be, I guess, open to to that new the new normal, if you will.
Right.
Absolutely. I suspect this is going to change a lot of stuff, not just for what I do, but traveling and how expensive traveling is for larger companies and whatnot. I think this is going to change how
people
we do business.
People are finding a way to make it work.
Yep.
So, are you seeing any sort of drop in productivity from your employees at all without being there? Or I mean, I don't know what your situation was before. Did you guys have
not at all?
Okay.
What we're finding is all of the lack of productivity, the fluff stuff has vanished. Like, we're from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're on calls, we're on webinar. I mean, it's like 100% production right now. It's good and bad. I mean, you have to figure out, okay, how do I keep my employees and myself from burning out, from being, on all the time?
Right.
But it's taken any kind of, inefficiencies completely out of the process. There's no traveling. I don't have to drive anywhere.
That's awesome.
It's good. It's a mixed blessing for sure.
Yeah. And especially when the work is still coming in, like you were saying. So have you seen anything slow as far as, bidding or future work, or I have to imagine some things got delayed or I mean, as far as starting new stuff,
so all of our, we work on transportation projects, and infrastructure projects. And right now with the decrease of cars on the road, all of them they're like, nope, let's get all the projects we can done.
Yeah. Now,
why it's safer, they're extending the work hours and all of the above. They're really embracing the fact that there's less people on the road, so they can get more of the highway work done.
So kind of thought just came to my head, obviously, with all the transportation work. Did you guys see, I guess maybe a 2-part question. One, no, I guess because you guys have been doing transportation work for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you see, has there been that influx of work yet from the what was it? Prop 9 or whatever, where they all the increased tax money for infrastructure?
For the gas tax?
Yeah.
We have actually. I'm on one of the committees with the state that helps to kind of troubleshoot the increase in demand. What they knew. Basically, it's doubling their workload for the state.
Right.
It doubled their revenue for these projects. And so, I suspect the effects of what we're going through right now won't be felt till next year for the funding at least.
Right.
Right now, they're just moving ahead. They have the money from before to be able to keep going.
Push through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what does your staff look like? How many project managers do you have that are out there working on this stuff?
Our team, between the little one-man shops that we use, the little sub-consultants, and us is 6 people, plus me. And so we generate we do a lot with the little. I have incredibly intelligent, great people that work with me. Excuse me.
Well, I would imagine this is probably making it a little bit easier to do a little bit more with a little bit less, as far as everybody else being okay. Mm-hmm. It's almost, you know what I mean? When you wanted to have those teleconferences before, I have to imagine there was some pushback or some people that maybe weren't as comfortable with it. And now it's almost like, since it's the normal, it's almost making you guys allowing you to be a lot more efficient.
Yeah, it is. We, our people, we're very collaborative. We work well together, and if we have our weekly staff meetings and whatnot. And so, in the past, if one of them got canceled for a couple of weeks just because of project needs, my staff would come back and say, look, this really bothers me. I need to sit down with you and all of us, and talk through these things and figure it out. And so we're very relationship focused. And so it has been a little bit tough transitioning to technology because we're so used to being around each other. But we're making the best of it. I mean, we laugh, like the rest of the world. I think I wore the same sweatshirt for 3 weeks, straight to like every single meeting.
Zoom meetings are all looking the same, right?
They are. We're looking at each other's backgrounds and reading, the books on their walls, and
that's funny.
So we're doing the best we can.
So when you guys are looking at a new project, a new government infrastructure project, how are contractors, if you could explain kind of the process of, finding the contractors, or if they're finding you, and some of the barriers and procedures that they have to go through just to get started. If you could kind of open up on that for us.
Are you asking for the small contractors or the big
for a smaller contractor that's looking to maybe jump into this line of work?
We get a lot of referrals, a lot. We're partnered with the building trades statewide from the top down. And so we get a lot of referrals because all the prime contractors we work with are union. So it doesn't even matter if there's a PLA on the project. The little guys, they have to be union to work on our projects, basically. So, they're already one step ahead if they're coming directly from the building trades. We get a lot of referrals that way. I think we're just known in the industry too. So a lot of people say, oh yeah, you should call CPM Logistics. They know they can help you with this, or they can tell you about that project and whatnot.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
They trust us too. And so our very favorite small contractors are the ones that are new, because we can help them to get through some of the business planning efforts and some best practices and whatnot. A little more efficiency than somebody who had been struggling for a long time and maybe a little more disenfranchised with how it works. The primes send us people all the time as well. There was a large drilling company in the city here whose son started a rebar company, and so he wanted me to reach out and help him as well. A lot of it's word of mouth, amazingly enough. And there's not that many small contractors, whether they're DBE or SB or veterans. There's not that many in California, so we know most of them.
Very cool.
So are there? Yeah. I mean, what is it? I think we've actually been to a conference. We were working with an attorney partner on the DBE stuff that was actually pretty fascinating to listen to. So what are is that? I know DBE is one of them, but what are some other things that the those Caltrans jobs and the infrastructure jobs are looking for, as far as
there's
meeting those requirements.
DBE, there's small business certification, and the disabled veteran. Those are the big three for those.
Yeah. So you guys
of the other certifications, like the local business enterprise and all that, that's all 100% with local agencies setting those goals because of the local funding requirements.
Right. And you guys are seeing, has meeting some of those requirements gotten any harder or easier, or how is, just from a labor standpoint, is it an issue for anybody?
I think it just depends on how your business is set up. Some of the companies, if they have stakes in other companies, it's a little more complicated to get any of the certifications in place. For the business planning aspects of it, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, we know how to run a good business, a successful business. We're very well versed on, helping the little companies to troubleshoot, and remove some of these obstacles that are keeping them from being a viable, profitable company. A lot of the time, I would say they just need a champion. They need somebody to say, no, go call this guy over at Tykert. They're looking for what you need. Call them right now, and that's all it takes sometimes. We have a lot of meetings with the big primes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Is your husband involved in the business at all, or is he involved in construction?
He works for Flatiron Construction Corp.
Oh, okay.
So he is. That's how we met on the Bay Bridge project a million years ago.
That's awesome. We actually have an account manager here. Her husband just actually made a move to Flatiron from Kiewit. So it's
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll talk offline afterwards. Maybe they know each other.
Well, I mean, he's all the way down here, so I guess they move all over the place, but yeah.
They do. And he's worked for Flatiron for 25 years, I think. He's their temporary works engineering manager for Canada and the United States.
Oh, wow.
That's
awesome.
Funny. Mm-hmm. Small world, man.
Right?
It really is a small world.
Especially in construction too, right? It's kind of one of those industries where you don't want to badmouth anybody because you never know where that.
You never know. No, really. I mean, I've sat at awards dinners or tables or been even at the airport where I've heard things that shock me. And I'm like, hey, just remember.
Right.
You never know. They know.
That's pretty funny.
It is.
Do you guys get to work at all on any projects ever since the one that you guys met on, or is that a conflict?
We did. Well, after the Bay Bridge, we didn't work on any projects together for a lot of years, and then we both worked on the Presidio Parkway project together, which was I think it was more challenging for him because he's way more private than I am. So,
you were telling everybody, and
he had to do appreciation for me and vice versa.
Yeah, my wife and my mom actually both work in insurance, but they work for a different company together. And they all, they have people that work in their office all the time. Like, hey, Mike, why don't you come work for us? Like your mom, your wife? Nope, I won't do it. I don't know that I can. I love my wife, love my mom.
To go away to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that that would be healthy for anyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm glad you guys made it through it. That's what I was trying to get at. I'm glad you guys made it through it.
We did. Honestly, it was great. I mean, there really weren't any issues. It was good to be able to spend the time with him. I mean, our kids are so young that was kind of our time away too.
Date nights on the job, right?
Pretty much.
That's funny. So kind of, I don't know if you got to listen to any of the, I mean, I think you said you listened to a couple of the others, but we like to kind of see if you got any fun or interesting stories from job sites or about anything that was fun, fascinating, exciting, funny,
strange.
Yeah,
oh
strange,
my goodness.
weird.
Oh wow.
That you're allowed to tell us.
Yeah. Well, I did work on a project once in Stockton that they found a dead body.
Oh my goodness.
On it.
All right,
it's not funny. I shouldn't laugh.
Right.
But it was,
shocking, I'm sure.
Yeah. It was, so they had to shut the project down for, while they did the investigation and everything.
Yikes.
Like buried in the ground, dead body?
Yeah. It was a mom who had been missing for a while. So it was actually super sad.
Yeah.
But her boyfriend had buried her on our job site.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's intense.
Mm-hmm. That is a first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's probably the most random thing.
On a lighter side, what's the most, what project are you most proud of that? I mean, it's cool what you do, right? Because you think about like an electrical contractor or a plumbing contractor.
Yeah, they're in their lane.
Well, and not only that, but like, you know, even if you plumb the new Rams stadium, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you can take your family and be there. You don't want to walk into the bathroom and be like, those are my pipes. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
But if your guy that did the LED screen, you get to see it all the time. And so my point is that you get to see your stuff all the time, right? You're driving around on these roads or these bridges or whatever you guys are doing, and you get to see them all the time. Is there one that you're just like, man, I'm hanging my hat on that one?
You know, one of the very, very, very first projects that I worked on, actually, it was probably the first project, was Giant Stadium in San Francisco.
Oh, really?
So that's my thing. I got to go to the topping off party, and I mean, I was like an entry level person way back then, but you know, it was really an amazing project to be on because you got to, you know, I went there every week and I got to see it progress. And, you know, you guys, everybody who watches baseball has probably been to a game there. And so that's probably my project, the one that I'm the most proud of, that, you know, has stood the test of time despite all the name changes since then.
Yeah. And as an A's fan, that's still your number one as an A's fan, still, right?
I know. Who would think? I'm going to be on the A's ballpark. Just wait. They don't know it yet, but that's going to be that'll be my number one.
Assuming they don't move, right? Assuming they don't move to Vegas.
Oh my goodness. I hope not. I don't think they will, though. They've been through a lot.
Yeah. Are there talks of new stadiums? Is it in the works? Are there people?
Yeah. Yep. They've been trying for about, 18 months or 2 years now, I think, at this point. And they hit some political roadblocks with the city and the county. Yeah. And then, of course, now with the coronavirus, it's stalling things again. The city shut, for everyone's furloughed right now. And, but at some point, they still plan on building a stadium here on the water, a smaller ballpark.
Yeah. And
I'll be the first
trying to get involved, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They just don't know. Yeah. So if they listen to this podcast now, they know.
I know, right?
Yeah. Sports projects are super fun.
Oh, I have to imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's different. They're so dynamic. And I mean, transportation projects are interesting too, but laying asphalt on the highway really isn't as fun as
only a couple ways to do it, right?
For the Warriors. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate your time. Before we let you go, we want to obviously give you a chance to, give a little shout out and let the people know where to find you. A website, email, phone number.
Our website is www.cpmlogistics.net. And anybody, you can find out all of our phone numbers, emails, everything's online. It's very transparent. So if anybody wants to reach anybody at my company, including myself, it's all on that website.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, we'll let you get back to your day. I'm sure you got more Zoom meetings to attend to. Yeah. And
great.
More.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it, you guys.
Thank you.
No, it was fun. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great.
We'll, get back to your day. Yeah, your new normal, and we'll see you around. Yeah, we'll stay in touch. Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, and check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.